going on, everybody? Welcome back to the One by One podcast. I'm your host, Obi Emegano, and I'm here joined today with former Florida State Seminole softball player, now coach, two-time All-ACC selections. She was in 2 Women's College World Series, won 4 ACC championships. Guys, help me welcome Coach Ellie Cooper. Ellie, how you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, good to see you. I know it's been a minute, been trying to get this done, so I'm glad. I'm happy for you coming and taking this time for us.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for reaching out. I'm excited.
So what's going on? Who are you? Where are you from? What do you do? Give us a little background story of you.
Okay, background story. That was a pretty good intro. Yeah, so I I was born in New Zealand. I grew up in the United States. My dad played softball. So he was in New Zealand playing softball when I was born. So like naturally just came out of the womb and I think went straight to the softball park. So
Okay.
it's definitely in the blood. I started playing competitively when I was like 5 years old. I think I was playing 10U fast pitch when I was 5. Everyone was much
Wow.
older than me. So
Wow.
yeah, just set the tone. My dad just like threw me to the wolves. He was like, "You'll figure it out." Um, so yeah, played at Florida State. It was the best 4 years of my life. And now I am in my 3rd season as the director of player performance for the softball team. So pretty cool to come back to my alma mater and do what I love. My job's a lot of different things. I definitely emphasize the mental side of the game and just helping our athletes navigate their lives as student athletes. I'm sure you know how tough it can be. So yeah, my job's a lot of things, but I really just I try to tell people in its simplest form is my job is to help our athletes step on the softball field and compete how they're capable of competing, and
Mm.
allowing them and helping them develop the skills to do so. So super fun role.
Actually, for me, like starting my role and getting into that, I'm very interested in what that looks like. But first, let's dive into. I'm interested New Zealand. So when did you get here to the States, and where did you move to?
My parents actually already lived in the States. I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. But like
Ooh,
I said,
okay.
my dad was over there playing.
Midwest.
Yeah, I'm a Midwest girl.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So when did you come here?
So my dad was over in New Zealand playing softball. So I think we were over there for about a month.
Okay.
And he was
Uh,
just playing and my
and then
mom
you just came straight back
just
here.
straight back. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. I have a similar story, so I'm always curious because being born in Nigeria and then moving here, so I'm always curious about that. So what's going on? What are you doing now? Talk to us about what your job looks like at Florida State.
Yeah, so like I said, director of player performance. Emphasis is on the mental performance side of things. But I also really help them navigate just their life as a student athlete and everything they have on their plate. Kind of
Mm-hmm.
accountability partner, honestly, to them to make sure I kind of tie a little bit of everything together as far as work really closely with our strength and conditioning coach, making sure they stay on top of their academics, making sure they're getting their rehabs in, their recovery in,
Mm-hmm.
making sure they have elite habits outside of the softball field because we know in sport, if you can't do it off the field or the court, it's not going to show up on the field or the court. So helping them just create really elite habits, behaviors, routines. So they can meet with me one on one. I spend a lot of one on one time with our athletes, and then we probably have a team meeting and we go over some type of mental performance something about once a week.
How did you get into that role?
Mm. So a little bit of my story is when I came to Florida State. I was pretty highly recruited in high school. Um, And I came to Florida State and I had a really good freshman fall, earned my way into the starting lineup, started my first game at Florida State. And it took me about 20 or so games to fail enough to get out of the lineup. They put someone else in. And I wasn't mad about it. It was so fair. It wasn't from lack of preparation. It wasn't because I wasn't doing the right things. It was purely because I didn't know how to deal with failure and I didn't know how to manage wanting to perform so badly for what I've been working for my whole life. Like all I did in high school was like, I want to go to a school that's going to help me get to the World Series and I want to compete in the World Series. So I
Mm,
like gave my heart and soul to that in high school, got my dream, and then I'm in the starting lineup and I wanted to stay in it so bad that I got in my way of actually performing. So then I start to fail and I didn't know how to deal with that much failure because I had never failed that much growing up.
mm,
Um, so then I started working really closely with my mentor and our mental performance coach at the time, Brian Kane. Um, and I just really bought into everything. And I was kind of in and out of the lineup for the rest of the year. I was kind of a defensive player. I would go in late to play some shutdown defense. I'd come in for a pinch hit here and there. And we ended up making it to the World Series for the first time my freshman year, and I got an at bat, and I just remember it would have perceived to be like the biggest stage and the biggest moment I had ever played in, but I just remember being so slow and just so locked into my routine and everything I had been working on Caner with, and I hit a double, and like
mm.
everything changed from there on out for the rest of my career. Played every single game for the rest of my career, had a pretty decent career. So then I go off and I coach at ECU right out of college after we won the national championship. And I loved my job and I knew I wanted to coach. But I just saw being a coach, I just saw such a need for the mental performance and just high performance in general, not just with athletes, but also with coaches. So I literally quit my job in 2020 during COVID, moved back to Florida,
Wow.
started giving some lessons to keep me on my feet, and I started my mental performance company. And then I started working for Brian Kane as part of his coaching team. And
Wow.
then did that for a couple years. And then our head coach now, Lonnie Alameda, my head coach when I was at Florida State, called me and she was like, Ellie, these are my thoughts. Like, I don't know what this role is going to become, but I know what you can bring. So let's just see what happens.
Mm,
Now I'm here in my third season.
that's beautiful. Wow. How happy does that make you?
It was so cool. It
Could
it
you
was
ever
out of the
imagine
blue.
that?
I did not expect it at all.
Yeah. Jeez, that's a dope story. So what's the transition been like for you? From I mean, you've been at such a high level at the top of your game, one of the best teams in the country, in the nation, right? And then going from player to coach, what does that look like? What's the struggles been like as well?
Yeah, definitely a big learning curve of just understanding that just because I could do something and catch on to something so quick doesn't mean that an athlete's going to. So
Okay.
being able to like step back and really start to learn who the person and the athlete is so that I can help them with like meet them where they're at and help them move forward. I think that was just like the biggest thing. And then just the patience of letting the process of that come kind of compound so it can show up. I think you like try to teach an athlete something and talk to an athlete about something, and some coaches don't see it happen right away, and you can go straight to frustration of like, why aren't you doing this? But just supporting them through that process and being a little bit more patient. You never know when it's going to show up, but you definitely know that frustration's not going to make it move any faster. So I think
I
that was
was
a big learning curve early in my coaching career.
You said something that I want to hit on. I talk to my athletes about this a lot. Especially the younger ones, the high school athletes who are struggling with maybe they're better than some of the other guys that they're playing with, but they're on a team, you know what I mean? And so you're only as good as your weakest link. So for instance, we're playing small sided games, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, and you're inevitably with somebody who's maybe better than you, not as good as you, right? There's different levels, but some of my better guys, they get so frustrated with the guys who aren't as good or aren't to the level that they're at, right? And at the same time, we've got different age groups together, right? So something that you said was meeting people where they're at. And that's something that I try to harp on because I think people kind of miss that. How important was that or has that been for you?
It's been super important just because then you like seek to understand versus seek to be understood, or you eliminate that frustration of like, why aren't you getting this?
Yeah.
And you just go straight to the solution of how can I help you just be a little bit better than you are right now, even if that means you're not going to figure out exactly what I want you to figure out. Like, what's one step in the right direction as far as it aligns with the process of getting there.
Yes. One, and that's and I yes, exactly. And I love using that term one by one because that's what it's about. It's like using what is one step. There's one thing that you can do to help yourself right in this moment, right? And I think when you think that way, you give yourself a chance. You're always fighting. You're always, no matter where you are, facing injuries. That was the main thing is athletes, obviously injuries are part of the game, but like facing injuries and then facing that doubt and then feeling like, man, no motivation. And it's like, no, you've got something to work towards. Whether that's, for me, tearing an ACL and just being able to ride on the bicycle one time. Right. And I remember that's like my workout. I'm going back and forth, going back and forth, going back and forth. And then one day I go over and I'm like, yes, my job is done. I did it today. I'm gone. And so just being able to focus on one thing. So I think that's important. Um, what has been a struggle for you? So we talk about the mindset and you kind of, that's kind of where you found your path was as a player, right? What's the transition as being a coach? Because stepping into a different role, having to learn a lot of different positions, maybe dealing with some failure. What kind of failure have you dealt with as a coach that has made it kind of difficult and kind of made some speed bumps for you?
Mm, as far as like the role I'm in now, or like,
Yeah, just like dealing with athletes, learning yourself, learning maybe watching games and being frustrated, or you know what I mean? Because now you're a coach, you're not a player, and so how has that been?
I think one thing I had to learn really early, I struggle with this in leadership too. I was the captain at Florida State my senior year, and I'm someone, I want to help everyone. I want to be able to get to everyone. But I had to learn that you're not going to get to everyone and not everyone is going to connect with me. It's about giving people what I can, and sometimes you can only lead the horse to the water, you can't make a drink situation.
Yeah.
um Not getting so caught up in the people who I necessarily can't get to, and giving my energy and focus to the ones that are in it, those
Hmm.
80%, right? You're going to get to 80% of your team is going to be all in, and then there's going to be 10% that's teetering that you can get to come in, and then there might be like 10% that you just might not ever get to. And learning that that's okay really helped me, more so just not being so frustrated and giving my energy to things I can't control, and
Yeah.
just reminding myself to give my energy and focus to the things I can control and keep pouring into the ones who really want it and need it. And still, that doesn't mean I'm ignoring people, but it just
Right.
means like I can't make you drink. I will keep giving you the information, but if you choose not to use it, I can't get frustrated about that.
And that's extremely hard because you're so passionate. I mean, as athletes and especially as coaches, you're so passionate. You want all these athletes to pick up what you're laying down. You want to help them so bad. But they've got to help themselves. That's one part of it. But at the same time, like when you fail in helping somebody, when you feel like you're not reaching somebody, that can kind of take your confidence, like just like anything else. And when you fail at it, it takes your confidence. And so being like the coach side, you have to know, all right, well, I'm just going to keep pushing the effort that I can push to them, like giving what I can give, and then just putting all that out there and letting go of the rest. I think that that's been one of the big changes for me as well, going from coach. What do you see these athletes struggling with mentally now? I mean, we talk about, some athletes you can help, you can't help, you're always trying. What are some of the athletes nowadays struggling with that you see?
Mm. I think that everyone's a little bit different, but just in our program, I think expectations are huge. You come into Florida
Okay.
State, we've won a national championship, we've won multiple ACC championships, and they come in here and they feel like they're expected to win. We have really great kids in our program, and they don't want to let people down. They don't want to let their teammates down. They don't want to let their coaches down. So that struggle of the dealing with the expectations that they feel like they're not meeting, really, really weighs on their confidence, I would
Yeah.
say. That's a big thing that we deal with. Um, and then just I the other thing too we deal with a lot of is just they're so worried about what other people think and say about them. Again, they're that's something they can't control.
Yeah.
So I think just the social media part of it, we've got a lot of people,
Gosh.
fans, boosters, media, they'll cling to anything negative that they can. So being very conscious about creating boundaries around those things, our girls, it kind of can weigh them down as well too.
Well, I mean, so even at the professional level, you see that all the time. You know, you have a bad game, you've got fans that are like cursing you, just saying things I would never say, right? And you know what I mean? But nowadays, even the younger athletes are facing that. And because of social media. So I'm a little bit older. I'm not that much older, but like when I was in college, we didn't have that much social media. And so, yeah, it was around, but like it wasn't how it is today, where you've got like fourth graders on social media on like highlight tapes, right? And so it makes it really difficult for these athletes just trying to come out of that and be able to live their own life without social media taking over. And then it's become so prevalent that it's hard. And I get it for these athletes, you know. So what is you talked about the expectations. We see a lot of that confidence, the expectations, the fear of failure, because that's kind of what it leads to, right? You're afraid to do anything because you just don't want anybody to say anything to you. You're just so afraid of what they're gonna say that let's just freeze. Hopefully I won't move and they won't notice me. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like how, especially on the basketball court, I see that a lot, is just with athletes that are so afraid to mess up. And that's a lot of my coaching, is teaching them to overcome some of those things and to get their confidence back and enjoy the game and not be so worried about what they're saying and he's saying. And you can't even think now because you've got so many voices in your head. So when we talk about Florida State, what makes that culture just what makes that culture what it is? What makes it that top tier, that top level? What is it?
Well, it definitely starts from the top. Our head coach, Lonnie Alameda, she's one of the best people that I've ever been around. She's a very transformational coach versus the transactional coach. Better people make better Seminoles. So I think that the culture that she's created, it's very clear. Every recruit, athlete coming in, our mission, our core values. Um, so our mission is live gate, give your all to the team every day. As a team, that's just what we're trying to do consistently well. We have our five core values. Every single person knows what they are, knows what it means, know what's above the line, what's below the line.
I love
So
that.
it's very clear standard that she's set for us. It's a very great environment for athletes to succeed in, because she's worried about the person before the athlete. Obviously, this is a business. She is expected to win and she wants to win, but she knows that in order to win, I have to create really great people who can step into this environment and grow as human beings. She allows our athletes, this whole staff allows our athletes to fail, and we just always learn from our failures. We fail forward. She's never going to, no one on our staff is really going to get on people about failing. It's more about how well can we execute our process. And our process is also very clearly defined. So our athletes know what's expected of them as far as behavior, and they know what's expected of them as far as execution on the softball field, whether it be offense, defense, pitching. So very clear standard that our athletes are being held to.
Wow. I mean, just listening to that. Let me ask you this. Do you mind sharing some of those values with us?
Yeah, I could share all of them.
M-
So, family, smart,
Okay.
aggressive, competitive, and committed. Those are our five core values that we live by on a daily basis.
Okay. All right. For all those athletes out there. No, it's to see, obviously you guys have the history, but just to hear how like cut and dry and straightforward everything you just said is, lets me know that's just a program that is a program that you want to be a part of, and to cultivate that within your followers, which are your athletes and your coaches, to cultivate that through the whole organization. I know that you guys are running a well-oiled machine over there.
Yeah. They say clarity is the ally of achievement. And kids love clarity. They don't
Wow.
like lack of communication. They don't like the gray area. So the more clear you can be with your standards and what that looks like on the field, off the field, above the line, below the line, you're more likely to create just the behavior that your athletes that you want from your athletes in that clarity.
And it's with clarity, you're kind of fostering responsibility. You know, you're making your athletes take ownership of all of their behaviors, the team behaviors, everything. And so I think, you know, you can't hide. That's the thing is like younger athletes, and obviously they're, you know, they're still developing, but like when you get to that level, everything is we're looking at everything. You know what I mean? There's no place to hide right now. And so you have to either get better or you're going to stand out. You know, if you're not up to the standard, you're going to stand out. And so I think that's I think that is how you want an organization to be ran, you know?
Yeah, and I think too what's really important is like we all know, like I don't expect my athletes to be perfect. They're young kids, honestly, they're kids.
Sure.
Obvious like they're from 18 to 22 years old. Looking back now how much I've grown. I'm 30. It's unbelievable, right? So
Yeah.
like when they get it wrong, how can we just help them be better versus
Patience.
bash them into the ground and make them feel small? It's not about that. We don't expect perfection. We just expect you to be better after you're held accountable.
Yeah, I was talking to one of my parents yesterday, and one of their kids was struggling with something similar, confidence. And I was just like, just take it easy. Like a good kid that was really good, but just struggling right now. And I was like, give him some, take it easy, give him some grace. You know, he's young, he's growing. Like, it's okay. He's gonna mess up. He's gonna have times where he's not feeling his best. He's gonna have times where his confidence might be a little bit low, but like, encourage him. And that's what I try to be. I try to be fair. I'm hard on my athletes, you know, but I try to be fair and encourage them at the same time because I remember, like you said, I'm gonna be 32 this year. Like I remember when I was 18 and how I thought I knew it all, but at the same time, looking back now, I'm like, man, how much have I grown in the last 6 months, 1 year? Like think about what 15 years ago, you know, it was a whole different thing. And so just being trying to find that grace with athletes and pushing them but with love, I think that's one of the most important things is letting them know that you care about them, but like this is not going to be just sweet, like we're going to we're going to work, but I do care about you and I want the best for you, so I think that's important. um Take us into that championship year. Was that 2018?
2018.
Take us into that year. What was that like from start to finish? Did you guys have what were the expectations like during that year?
So I'll just take back to 2017, I think is where it kind of started. So that was my senior year. That was the team that was supposed to win it.
Your
We
year? Your senior
My
year?
senior year,
Okay.
2017.
Okay.
So we went into postseason ranked 4 overall. So we went undefeated at home that year. We didn't lose and a single game in the ACC. We went 26-0 at home. And we ended up getting that 4 seed. So LSU comes in super regionals. So if you win super regionals, then you go to the World Series. So we play a
Okay.
3-game series against LSU. We win the first game pretty easily. I think it was like 7-3. We won that game. Game 2, we lost 1-0. They shut us out. And then we ended up getting upset in game 3. And it was like probably the most devastating loss I feel like our program's ever had. It was pretty
Wow.
rough. It was rough. But fast forward to 2018, we had a rough start. We lost some games that we shouldn't have lost. I remember us losing a fall game to a junior college, and I was like, "What the heck is going on?"
Whoa.
Yeah, and then
No disrespect, but
no, no,
whoa.
no, for sure. I
But
was like,
whoa.
"What is happening? Like, this is
Yeah.
not good." We lost, some leadership in our senior class, but we still had a ton of talent. Um, and then we had a good year. We ended up winning the ACC championship again. We almost lost it. We were down to our last strike against Pitt, and we ended up hitting a walk-off home run with our last strike. So we ended up winning our
What?
fifth ACC, actually, yeah, our fifth ACC championship in a row. Get to postseason, and they send LSU back here again.
Mm.
So it was a rematch of the year before, and it was an absolute dogfight. We played long games. We went into an extra innings game, and we played until like 1 o'clock in the morning, and we ended up beating LSU, going to the World Series. We go to the World Series and we lose game 1. So we went straight into the losers bracket. So we played and then we won every single game after that. We played every single game possible at the World Series because we lost game 1 and we ended up just backs against the wall. Death or we said death or survive, and we ended up winning it, and it was incredible. The expectation was not to win a World Series. We were just trying to figure out who we were. Our hashtag that year, kind of like our team thing, was IDK, meaning I don't know. We had no idea what we were going to get from that team. And we embraced that versus like shied away from it. We like leaned into that, like IDK, versus a lot of people would kind of try to shy away from that and
Yeah.
not bring that to the surface and avoid it. Um, so we leaned in and we ran with it.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of y'all's whole thing though, is like kind of transparency. Like even if you guys don't know, we're still gonna show up and
Yeah.
compete, but we just don't know.
Yeah.
Like we don't know what it's gonna look like, but
Yeah.
we're here for it, but we don't know.
Yeah, so pretty
I
cool. It was
love
it was
that.
a cool full circle moment for me to experience because I had a devastating loss in 2017, and then that as soon as we won the World Series, I was like, it was for good. They wouldn't be here if it wasn't for last year,
Yeah.
and kind of everything that led up to that moment. So it was a super peaceful moment for me to like rest my head at night, knowing like it was all for good.
So what were you doing at that time? What was your role?
I was the student assistant coach, so I was coaching first base, and I
Okay,
was I
okay.
was helping out with the infield a lot, that year.
Maybe that's what they needed. Maybe they just needed you to move to the coach
Yeah,
to
who
get that.
knows?
That
Who
still
knows? But
counts.
it all
It
happened for a
still
reason,
it
so I'm
still
I'm at peace.
counts. Yeah. So what has that done? Just to close that out, what has that done for your mindset? Just like I know you struggled with that your senior year and then going in and winning, like how that's been kind of a whole roller coaster for you. And now
Yeah.
you're being the mental coach for those women. And so it's
Mhm.
all coming full circle, like you said.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel though? How has that shifted your mindset?
Honestly, you can do everything right and lose, and
Ooh.
it's about, can I leave with no regrets? I literally gave my heart and soul to Florida State for 4 years. My one of my teammates had to take my cleats off my feet because it was just like the hardest thing in the world for me to do because I loved it so much, but I left with no regrets. And
Mm.
I left knowing that I gave everything I had to Florida State softball. And I learned it's about the growth and the journey and what I learned about myself in that process. Um, and then going into the next year, it's the same thing. You never really know what's going to happen. It's just about, can I show up and give my all to the team today and do my best to pour into the person to my right and to my left and go out there and compete one pitch at a time, and whatever happens happens. I think if you can give your athletes the tools and the knowledge of their skills, they should be able to handle anything that's thrown their way. So I think that was another thing that I take into consideration now is like, did I do my job in helping our athletes gain the tools and the skills they need to be able to handle whatever is thrown at them in life and on the softball field? Do they use them all the time? No. But then when they don't, we can talk about it and figure out how we can be better tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just that compound effect, you just never know what's going to happen. But as long as you know that you gave today everything you had, you're going to end up exactly where you should be.
Is that would you say that that's when you kind of figured out that this performance and the mental side of it was your calling, like was something that you were good at, something you enjoyed, something you could help people with? Is that when it was?
Yeah, I do. I think I learned a lot my first year coaching softball. I honestly felt like I was helping kids more with the mental side of the game than actually helping them with their swing and their skills
Yeah.
on defense. Um, and yeah, it was my first year in my role, and I think I was just like this new person that was young, just came off of a national championship, so I had a lot of athletes coming to me for things, and I was like, "Wow, like, we just like really need some help as far as like on the mental performance side more than anything. And that is not what I was hired to do there at ECU, obviously. Um, so yeah, and then during COVID, just that like time away from softball and just that like peace and solitude, a lot of alone time. Um, I was like, wow, I really think that like this is what I should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I just risked it. And I was like, if there's any time to risk, it's right now when I don't have to worry about kids or a family.
Yeah.
So let's do this thing. And I just went all in on it.
So we've got a lot of athletes here listening. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of athletes on your side as well. For all the athletes that are there out there, and I know, we all struggle with this at some point in our career, right? Confidence, fear of failure, the pressure, the anxiety of all that stuff. What is one thing, or what are a couple of things that you would say to them that they could do or they should start doing that would help them?
Yep. So with the confidence thing and the fear of failure thing, it all comes
I
down. Go
No,
ahead.
because I actually had a parent ask me that yesterday,
Mm,
literally yesterday. Said, my son's struggling with I mean, that's kind of where the field that I'm in, but my son's struggling with confidence. What can he do? So
yeah.
I wanted to hear your answer.
There's so many things. To me, number one, confidence is something you do. It's not something that you have. There's not this gene inside of your body that is just like you have confidence. It's something that you do. And you do your confidence with your body language, your focus, and your self-talk. So right away with my athletes, I'm like, okay, what is your body language, focus, self-talk when you're your best, when you're playing big and you feel like the most confident version of yourself? And then what is your body language, focus, and self talk like when you're your worst, you're feeling not confident? Because you can't change something you're not aware of. So self awareness is key. So self awareness is going to play a really big role in your confidence. And it's like, okay, my body language, my focus, my self talk are all these things when I'm my best. So when I'm feeling my worst, like where do you break down? Every athlete breaks down from different things. Maybe it's your self-talk, maybe you're focused on the wrong things, maybe you have really bad body language and you don't even know it. So how can I change one of those things? Can I just change my body language and then I'm going to have a better energy about me? It's science, right? It's the whole Amy Cuddy TED Talk thing. um Maybe it's my
Ah.
focus. Like, what am I focused on right now? Oh, I'm focused on the past and the mistake that I just made. Okay, well, you can't do anything about that. What do you focus on when you feel your best? Well, I focus on winning this next pitch. I focus on making this next play. I focus on my breath. I tried to eye up one of my teammates. What does that look like? Maybe it's the self talk. As soon as I'm aware that I have negative self talk, I have to interrupt it. We have release routines at Florida State. Everyone has, when they go into that red light, we call green, yellow, red. If I'm in my red, I'm probably feeling pretty, a lot of self doubt in there, not confident at all. I got to hit my release routine and I got to go back to the things that I say to myself and back to the things that I do when I feel my best. So having clarity on those three things at my best and at my worst is going to play a pretty big role in your ability to um, stay confident consistently and just be aware when I'm not. Okay, what's one thing that I can do to move me a little bit closer?
I don't know who's cutting that, but I need that clip cut up. I couldn't have said I don't think you could say that any better. That was a beautiful answer. I struggle finding the words to give to these athletes about their confidence. I think you hit it on the head. Focus, that your inner talk.
Mm,
You know what I'm saying? And those are two things that I really focus on. What are you saying to yourself?
mhm.
And then the body language. That's one that I need to hit on more
Yeah,
because body body language says it all.
yeah,
It says it all.
yeah,
It says how you're feeling on the inside, and I'm looking right at you and I can see, I don't
yeah,
care what you're saying. I can see exactly how you feel.
yeah.
You know
I'm
what I
sure
mean?
you can relate. I know exactly where my athletes are
Yeah.
just by looking at them or
Yeah.
by watching them take their breaths. Are they
Yeah.
taking their pre-pitch breaths or are they not? And then what do they look like? Are they short and shallow or are they intentional long? So I think, I mean, I'm sure you can relate, but
Wow.
I know exactly where
No.
they're at.
I no, I mean, but that was great. Even for me, that helped me just be able to articulate it better
Mhm.
because those are some quick hitter points that listen, though if you don't check those boxes,
Yeah.
you're not where you need to be. And
Yeah.
those are just some quick, easy check
Mhm.
boxes to see if you're here or not.
Yeah.
Are you locked in on what's going on, or are you like, is your mind somewhere else? Are you, you know what I mean? So I think that was great. Ellie, where can we find you?
Yeah.
Where can my followers find you?
My Instagram is at what is my Instagram? I think it's
Coach Ellie.
Coach Ellie. Yeah, at
Coach.
Coach Ellie. I'm
Don't
not
worry,
the best at
you'll be
putting things on
tagged.
my
Don't worry.
Instagram. Um,
Don't.
yeah.
Coach Ellie, yeah, that's it. We'll tag you on it. Don't worry.
All right.
What's one lesson that sticks with you moving forward, from all of your experiences? What is one thing that you carry with you?
From my experience, there's a lot of things, but I think just what I've learned is be really intentional about the environment that you create for yourself at a really young age. So we have our internal environment and our external environment. When you're in high school and you're young, you don't largely control your family dynamic. So your family dynamic kind of is what it is when you're young until you can get into college and you go on your own. But the playing environment that you're in, so who's coaching you, your teammates, that's going to play a big role in how you see your game. What you consume, music, books, podcasts, social media. There's great social media, there's really bad social media. So being really intentional about what you're consuming, the people that you hang out, especially in high school. I know this is huge. But the people that you surround yourself with, do those people make you better, or are they holding you back and making you worse? And then being really intentional about your internal environment. Like, how do you see yourself? You're never going to outperform a bad self image. So we have to create a really good internal environment with ourselves, which is largely going to come from those things that I kind of just talked about: your family, the people that you hang around, and the things that you consume. Not just social media, music, TV, all of those things, but like obviously nutrition, nutrition wise too. And then like elite sleep is going to be up there for me too. So if you don't take those things, if you take performance seriously and you don't take your sleep seriously, you're kind of just already setting yourself up to be a little bit behind on that. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. And lastly, so this show grows by word of mouth.
Okay.
Who is one person that you would have on this show that has had a big impact in your mental performance, or
Mm.
some person who is a big mental performance advocate in that field?
Well, my mentor is Brian Kane. He is probably one
Okay.
of the most well-known mental performance coaches in baseball, softball. He's really big into MMA.
Okay.
I know he's the busiest man on the planet, but he's the reason I do what I do today. I would have never even have thought of being a mental performance coach if it wasn't for him. So definitely him. He's just been a very big influence in my life. So
Okay. All right. Any last words?
no, I appreciate you having on, and I appreciate people who are like-minded and they're just out there trying to make the youth better.
Yeah.
I super appreciate that. We definitely need more of that in this world. So super cool.
How are we doing? How's the season going right? How's the season going right now?
Great.
What are we looking
We
like?
actually opened up in Mexico. It was a super
Oh,
cool experience for our kids.
okay.
We went
Okay.
4-1.
Okay.
We split with Oklahoma State. They're ranked higher than us, but we ended up beating them in 5 innings. So um, started off pretty good. We're about to head to Clearwater, play some more good teams. So be big month for us.
We've got a big stadium here in Oklahoma. Am I
Yeah,
right?
that's where we play the World Series every year.
Am I right? The World Series,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The College World Series is here,
Yeah.
right?
I don't know anything about the state you live in.
No, I don't. Well, here's the thing. Okay.
Look,
Let me not say that.
when we make it to the World Series this year, I'm gonna hook you up with a ticket.
Okay,
You can
that's
experience it.
where I was going.
Yeah.
That's where this was leading to. It's
Absolutely.
like, all right,
It's a
what's up?
super cool environment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, so to be honest with you, my best friends, they are really big in softball. And they go to a lot of all the World Series. They're always there. So I've never been. I want to go. This is the reason. This will be my end. All right.
You know what? You should go to an Oklahoma game. That stadium is the most legit stadium
Look
in
at-
the
look at-
United States.
Dude, I'm a huge softball fan.
Hey,
Huge.
It's crazy, man, because I'm not, but every time I'm with AY, that's all we watch. That is all we watch. We watch softball, and I like it. I just don't, I don't watch sports, but like I don't watch that much sports, but I do enjoy it. Like, it's fun to watch. So,
Yeah.
and we had Lo Cham on here earlier, Lauren Chamberlain,
Yeah.
shout out. We had her on here a while ago. So yeah.
Yeah.
When is that?
The World Series starts the first week of June.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. All right. All right. Well, when y'all get there, come on.
All
I
right.
need a ticket.
You gotta come for sure.
I'm
got
there.
you.
I need the ticket. You
I
give
got
me the
you.
ticket. I'm there.
I
All
got
right.
you. I'll get you.
All right. All right, man. All right. Coach Ellie, thank you for coming on here, sharing these experiences with us, sharing your point of view, your knowledge, your expertise. I know that they're gonna love it, and yeah, good luck this season.
Awesome.
To y'all.
Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
All right. Thank you. Good
right.
luck. See ya.
See ya.